So thank you for coming. Today's the 28th of March. It's Vrindavan, India. It's Friday. And today is the day we're covering in an overview, breakdown, and an example of an in-depth analysis of Chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita. As you know, our program is a little unique. It's an interactive program, for one thing, but it's also a skills-building program. In other words, we're giving the participants here very specific skills that they can implement on their own, either in their own personal study or in their preaching application. And we're going to be emphasizing that more and more today, in particular because my dear friend Anuradha is here, and she's also a teacher in Mayapur. So it's really important for those who are definitely teaching to understand how we do things and why we do things, right? The how and the why. Okay, and one important aspect is we're modeling our thinking, so everybody knows the why, not only the what, the why. And we also check, second stage, we check for understanding. And then the third stage is we allow for practice, either on the writing slates or with a study partner. So the first thing in these programs is to have the study partner. So whoever's next to you will be your study. We say study buddy, right? Study partner. This is Vedic. In Vedic times, Shastra says, eat alone, study in twos, travel in threes. So study partners do help, because otherwise we don't have an opportunity to assess ourselves. Someone else may say, oh, wait a minute, that pronunciation didn't sound right, or that wasn't right. So it's a check system. And it's a nice check system. It's your friend, right? Don't pick your enemy as your study partner. I hope everybody here has a friendly relationship with each other. Okay, very good. Now when we have a group of three, then the three of you can work as a team, okay? And you two can work as a team, and you two, and back and forth. And where you have three seated together, and you've got that cute little girl in the middle, you'll be fine, okay? And you've got him. Yeah, you have Neela. he's heaven knows what he was in his last life. He's just carrying on. Okay, so we know that. So the next thing we do is you have to know who your partner is. We have people here we would like to introduce to our regulars, and regulars introduced to our guests. We do have new devotees present. So the simplest thing to do to remember a name is to write it, right? You write it down on your slate. So take out your slates, and you write your name, preferably in block letters. Capital is best. Easier to read. If you write in script, it's beautiful, but our whole point is teaching what are called more effective and immediate, learner-friendly tips. And we take this advice from books. You know, obviously, if you see a billboard and it's all in beautiful calligraphy, it won't have the impact, right? Calligraphy is nice for a birthday party invitation or wedding invitation, very beautiful. But for something where you have to learn, you have to use very bold, simple, easily seen and retained images. Okay, so please write your name in bold print, possibly print, okay? And I'll do that on yours and all of you. And then we, okay. This way. Not used to this. Somebody gave me a nice cover. The little boy who comes here gave me a nice cover. Okay? Okay. So if you've written your name, okay, now again, most of the people here are regular, know each other, but we do have some people whom I don't even know, and some of whom I met the other day. And it's really important for a personal society, we're supposed to be personless, that we're aware of people's names. And when we see them again, we can acknowledge them. Okay? All right. So we'll start yesterday with someone whom I met yesterday, and he said he wanted to come. And he'll be hoping to take Bhakti Shastri. That's why he's come. Okay, so you want to hold up your slate as you say your name? Okay, and his name is, can you all see? Maha Prasad, right? Is that what it says?
That's a nice name.
Yeah, right. It's not your name. What is, it says Krishna Chaitanya Das.
Yeah. Mahaprabhu Krishna Chaitanya.
Is the whole thing is Mahaprabhu Krishna Chaitanya? Wow, he covered the whole thing. Well, with his presence, we're set. This is auspicious, right? Mahaprabhu Krishna Chaitanya Das. Okay, did you all remember that one? If you forget that one, you don't have a chance in calling Krishna. You'll have to pardon me, I'm a comedian. I don't know if you were ready for this, but I am. Okay, can you match that name? Okay, that's a hard one to follow. And who? This is Purandara Mitala Das. That's harder. Purandara Mitala Das. Do you just want to sit there and watch? You don't want to be part of the group? Well, the chair is good. Yeah. This is interactive. Nobody gets away with this. Come on. I've had people do this before to me, guests coming in, and they'll say, no, I'm fine. And I say, but this is interactive. And then 10 minutes later, I see them falling asleep. I say, get over there, because it doesn't work. This is our whole premise, that if you're just listening, one of two things happens. Your mind goes somewhere else, or you just go to sleep. One of two. You take your choice. Okay, so we've used up all the equipment. You can share it with each other. You're friends. Okay, very good. So now you're going to announce he came to the door last night, and I mistook him for somebody else. It's really embarrassing. Okay, so you want to write your name, Suresh, on the board? He doesn't. Okay, you get a chance to do that. You hold up your name. Vagisha Das. Vagisha Das. Can you hold that up for everybody? Now everybody has to say that. Vagisha Das. All right, and can you tell us all what that means?
Vagisha means the master of speech.
The master of speech? Oh, what an elevated audience we've got today. This is being really, we've moved up into another caliber. Master of speech. And we have Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Das, and this other one, I don't know if I'm going to do too well. Okay, did you hold that up again? Everybody see that one? Vagisha Das. Okay, now you all remember that? Vagisha Das. Okay, those of you who have Hindi, Sanskrit backgrounds are okay. All right, now we're going to go around. Oh, are you ready? Okay, you figured it out. Suresh. Everybody got it? Suresh. I met Suresh 2 years ago, and he showed up at the door. I mistook him for Arun, who worked in the shop. They're friends. Okay. Suresh. And next is, everybody know the flute name? Samohini. What is it again? Samohini, the flute. We have such wonderful names. And with the cutest little gopi you'd ever want to meet. And what's her name? Sugopi. Sugopi. Okay, can you say her name again? Sugopi, right? She won't be hard to identify. Sugopi. And next is Madhuri. Everyone say her name? Madhuri. Okay, so Samohini and Sugopi and Madhuri. Okay, let's try these again. This is who? Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Das. And his name? Suresh. Hey, you guys are good at memory. You're better than I am. Okay. Yeah, right. Okay, and his name, this one? You're doing better than I am. I'm going to have to write this about 10 times to get this. Oh, you're all together. Okay, that's why they did so well. Okay, and this one, he's the one who's going to stand up and finish the class. Okay. What's your name? Hold it up again. Vagisha. Vagisha. All right. Now, let's get the two girls in front here who are part of this team. All right, so you hold up your name, because these are all new people here.
Kartika.
Oh, Kartika. That's not too hard. Okay, everybody got that one? Kartika. Everyone say it again?
Kartika.
That's the month of Damodar, right? Kartika. Okay, you won't forget that one. And next to her is? This is Ranjita. Okay, everyone, can you say that one? Ranjita. Okay, Kartika and Ranjita. All right, now we're going to go around on the three in the back. Now, these people all know each other, but you want to know them, too, because there are 6 new people today. Okay, this is a nice name. Anuradha. Everybody? Anuradha. Beautiful name, and she's a beautiful person too. She's so sincere. She works so hard in Mayapur, grading essays. That's why we do what we do. I dragged her into this class today. Okay, and next to her is Sundari Radhika. Sundari Radhika. Okay, one of the 10 million Radhikas in our movement. So many Radhikas, every combination under the sun. Sundari Radhika and this Radhika and that Radhika. You can't keep them straight anymore. I wonder if they'll ever run out of an option. You know, if the movement gets really big, what are we going to do? We've run out of names for Radhika. Okay. And next to her is a beautiful name, Kamala. Kamala. Very nice name. Kamala, and a nice devotee. She works in the information or center, actually community services. So if you have a problem when you're here, go to the community services and Kamala will make sure your problems are solved. Okay? And next to Kamala is the cameraman, Anand Mohan. And he's here with his wife, Rasamrita. That's Anand Mohan. I've known this family for 3 years. They're real converts to homeschooling and study groups and everything like that. And he's our cameraman. And that's over here his wife, Rasamrita. Everybody, can you see? And that's her little boy, Neela. Neela, he's 3. He's going to be the steward at the end with the fruit platter. Neela Madhava. Neela Madhava, okay? She has another boy, Raghav, who's 10 studying Sanskrit in Vrindavan. And they all moved to Vrindavan so their boy could study Sanskrit. And here's a person who came back this morning, Kamala, another Kamala, Kamala Sundari. So we have Sundari Radhika and Kamala Sundari and Kamala. I think we should be getting this all straight. Okay. And she decided after not being in our association, she was missing us too much. So she said, I'm coming back. Okay, then this lady is a Kund. She's a Kunda bliss. Govinda Kund, right? If you go to Govardhan, you want to go there, right? And her husband is Nardakund. And her son is Brahmakund. And if they have a baby, she'll be Apsarakund, right? The whole family's got to laugh. I joke because her guru is smart. He takes these Indian families and to keep them happy so that they don't think that Krishna's taking away their family child, right? He names everybody the same surname. And then there's still a family. He's very clever. He's a smart guy, you know. He's sharp. So she's Govinda Kund, okay? And we have another Neela here. Neela Lakshmi. And Neela Madhava, had the same birthday this year. Neela seems to be a special. She's in the Prasadam area where they, outside in the bookstall, Samadhi, selling books. So it was a very nice group. We gotten everybody, and then suddenly just somebody slipped in. And his name is Mohit. Oh, Mohit. It's okay. Mohit. Okay, you hold it up so everybody can see it. Mohit, are you part of this group too?
No, I just came first time.
Oh, you just came first time. Boy, this group. Okay, Kaparamama said, this better be a good class. I don't know. We got a lot of people. Okay, so everybody generally know each other? All right. All right, so now our commitment is within an hour. We have to do, so follow with me, because when I talk, when I speak, and pardon the voice, it's been a little scratchy with all the programs. Please do an arch in your slates like this. Okay. Well, what we do is we see, hear, say, and write everything. It's multi-sensory. What is it? Multi-sensory. And that means many senses. If you have if there's one approach, if you go to a lecture, you hear, right? If you see a demonstration, you see. But this is a practicum where you have see, hear, say, write, 4 things. Because if you do more, and then you do it by practice, your retention goes way up. If you're just listening, not so good. We've talked about that. We do that. We talked about this before. 10 seconds is the average attention span now, right? 10 seconds. That's not much. We're not sages, Namaskar, 1,000 years. They can sit and listen. No. 10 seconds in Kali Yuga. And if you're reading, you only remember 10% of any text. Average person. We're not talking about slow learners or children. And if you're just sitting in a class and the lecture is going on, afterwards in 8 hours, you can't remember more than 20%. So we try to increase that, right? And we give you materials for reference, right? And there's constant interaction here. So whatever I do, you do. I say it, and then you repeat it, okay? And then you're going to be writing also. Keeps you very busy. All right, so we're ready to go now. Back to our arch. Did you draw it? Everybody draw it? Okay. This is called the perspective from the sky. You're in the airplane now. We're in our plane. It's the overview. What is it? Overview. Right, you'll see the minute I say something, I ask a question. This is very practical. When you're reading, read a sentence and then turn it into a question. Immediately you're acting, and then you rephrase, paraphrase your answer. That way you're not just doing something, you're thinking. Okay? So this is the perspective from the air. It's called the what? Overview. That is the first step of study. You don't start with the details. You start with the big picture. What do you start with? The big picture. Now under this we're going to put lots of little steps. Yeah, it looks like a little umbrella, right. This perspective is ground level. This is called breakdown. What's it called? Breakdown. Okay, now we do a yo-yo practice. We go back and forth. What's this called? Overview. Second step is called what? Breakdown. Here we get divisions of the big picture in topic form. Topic form, not detail. Okay, overview, then breakdown, and then you can't just stay on the surface. We go into the kund, right? Then below the surface, the water, you go deep. Then how do you do that? That's a different approach. These are three different perspectives of study. And we're trying to teach you to do it for yourself and also help others do it. Because it's the way people do how they write a book. They don't just start with a word, you know. Well, maybe, but they have a title. And then they'll have sections. And then they'll develop it. Okay? It's common sense. But sometimes people don't think about that when they get a big book. They just start reading. But that's not what you do. That's not what the experts do. Okay? So we get our three perspectives. Now we're in the sky in our airplane today. We see the big picture first. What do we call that? And then we stop. This is called the milk run. Then we get the breakdowns, topic, stepping stones, right? And then if we want to stop and take a bath, we go into the kund and we go deep. And that's how we analyze purports. Okay? So now these are the three perspectives. Okay, just turn to your neighbor really quickly and tell them, what are the three perspectives of study? Okay, what are the three perspectives? Okay, Mohit, you can work with these people. You have to speak, because if you don't repeat it, you won't apply it. If you don't repeat it, you will not apply it. Okay. This has been proven. There's a method of education that's called the Collins method of teaching. It's for especially skills. And it says if you do not articulate, you will not apply. That's why preachers are so important, because they're constantly articulating, and then they have to apply. But if someone doesn't articulate, he may not ever use what he's been informed of. All right, so now you know the three perspectives of study, and it's the one you will follow. You will follow, all right? All right, so now we work from general, that was the overview, to specific. So the first thing you do is on your, we can call this your computer, you open up the file to the book you're studying. And what's your book? Bhagavad Gita today, that's your book. Okay, now I want to see everybody writing that. They say, oh, I know that. She's just making me work. No. Treat this like an iPad. Did you write Bhagavad Gita? Right. Just go ahead and do it. Because it's important to do the stages. All right, now you've opened it up on your files. Now I picked Bhagavad Gita in my audiobooks or in my text. All right, the next thing I open up. The next thing I open up is the chapter I want, which is what? Chapter 9 today. And then I put a slash after it. And the computer little cursor will show this chapter has the size of 34 megabytes. 34 chapters. So now we know Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, has 34, slokas. Slokas, not chapters, okay. 34 slokas. All right, now we're working from general to increasingly specific. We're getting more specific now. All right, now we need to know what the title is. All right, what's the title of this chapter? So take out your little book, 1881. There's a small little book now, because now we're going to start having more detailed help. Remember, it's very progressive. Every stage is progressive and locked in. We don't skip over anything. We don't assume anything. And we don't go on until everybody mastered everything. Because if you have a hole in the planks on your stage, you might step in the hole and fall through. It's math, right? How many of you have studied math? Try to go very far with a weak platform. Can you? In math. Can you, if you did badly in first grade addition, can you move on to second grade subtraction? No. This is the way you study. Every platform has to be fixed. Okay? And that means all of the students have to know it. Otherwise, they're losing out, like on parikrama. The poor guy's back there. We're here, and he got lost. You don't do that to students. You make sure everybody's with you. Okay? Everybody agree with that? Because nobody wants to be left out. Is there anybody here who wants to fail today? Is there anybody here who wants to be left behind? No. It's common sense. It's not kind. Is there anyone here who wants to be afraid? No. Yet that often happens. Competitive competition, fear, we go on whether you guys know it or no, that's not natural. Ask anybody. Right? Is there anybody here who wants to not participate? No. Well, he almost tried it. Okay, everybody's got it so far. All right, so now we're going to go increasingly specific. Let's turn to chapter 9 in our little book. We'll find it's in the yellow section in your study guide, 1881. Do you all have one here in your little tray? You see it, it's a small little book. It's called 1881, it's an overview. Right, and chapter 9, now we're going to get the title. So everybody has to know it. Probably many of you do, but that's okay. It's called what? The most confidential knowledge. And then we often do a signal to remember something. The most confidential knowledge. So now we're in the heart of the Gita, which is in the heart of the Mahabharata. This is the essence, this chapter. And it's called the what? Most confidential knowledge. Now, according to the experts, you will see a circle on your little chart. It's a mind map. Mind maps are different. They're radiant patterns. And around your mind map, you'll see some other circles in your little book. You see? How many circles do you see? 5. Okay, those are your breakdown topics. How many are there? 5. So now we know a little bit more about chapter 9. We know the size. It's 34 slokas. We know the title. It's what? Most confidential knowledge. And we know that according to the experts, it will have 5 major section titles. How many? 5 section titles. So remember, this is the stage on the ground, right? Where you're getting topography, topography. We're on the ground and we're finding what are the topic titles. All right. Now we want to learn what they are and we want to know where they are. Now we're getting very specific. Because up till now it's baby time, preschool. But now we want to know more. All right. So let us switch because my slate is a little small. Let us put 5 dots across our screen. All right. What do you think these 5 dots represent? Your breakdown topics, right? Because if you know that, then you can go further, right? All right. Now, these breakdown topics we're going to take the numbers first. And if you look at your charts, you have your charts with you also. You can start opening up more materials. We have numbers. We have 5 numbers. And I'm going to put these underneath here. I have the number 3. Then I have 7. Then I have 9. Then I have 7. And then I have 8. Do you see these numbers down the side of your chart? Okay? You see them? Everybody find it okay? All right. 3, 7, 9, 7, 8. On the right-hand side, you'll see a column of numbers. These indicate the size of each section. Remember we said we had 34 slokas. Now we're going to break down this chapter so I know what the size of each subsection is, okay? So the first subsection is how many slokas? 3. Okay, and you can try to think of a link for that. The 3 guna avatars, something, right, to lock it in, right? Right. 3 modes of nature. Anybody else think of something 3? 3, yeah, Purusha avatars. Right, okay. Think of something to lock the information. Whatever you learn, it's like UPS. You have a backup system. Don't try to just memorize one thing. Lock it in. Okay, so you've got the 3 guna avatars. You've got the 3 modes of nature. All right, what can you think of for the second number?
7 mothers.
7 mothers. That's a good one.
7 upper planetary.
Okay, 7 lower planetary systems. Whatever, have a backup, especially with numbers. Okay, so what was your first one? 3. And your second one was? 7. What about 9? 9 processes of devotional service. That's a very important one. And there are 9 planets in the solar system. Okay. I mean, I don't know about the planetary system so much, but yeah, right. Yeah, right. Oh, it's one of them. Okay, very good. So we have 3, then 7, and 9. Okay. And then what's the next one again?
7.
We've got a repetition, 7 2 times, right? So we have 7 in the second place, 7 in the fourth place. So we have 3, 7, 9, 7. What about 8? What's a good backup for that number? That's the best one. And we probably got that many here right now. Okay, at least. Okay. 3, 7, 9, 7, 8. Now, it's easy to remember when something's in your face, but when you erase it, do it again. Do your little replay on your screen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't look at the charts, and quickly write the numbers, okay? Do your little things and write your numbers, okay? And did you get them all right? Now you can check. Turn to your neighbor, who's your study partner, to make sure that you were correct, okay? Now, if you notice in our group, we have all age groups. We have a 10-year-old, we have people over 60, but the system works at any level. And it doesn't even matter if you're that scholarly or advanced. I always say, all right, maybe you're by nature super sharp, but this is a preaching mission. You have to help people, right? You have to help others. So let's say you're really sharp, and you're happy being up there, but how are you going to help somebody else? So you have to be aware of methods that might help other people who don't have your propensities. Okay? So there's value for the scholars and the 10-year-olds and the people over 60 and like that. Okay, so did you all write your numbers? 3, 7, 9, 7, 8. Okay, you mastered that. Okay, now you know the sections. Now we want to know what these are all about. All right, now what we do is we pick a key word. We don't take too much at a time. You notice how we just take a little at a time? Some of you find when you're eating in a rush, you take too much food in and you don't digest it. But you're supposed to take a little, chew, and digest. So that's how we proceed. Take a little information, chew it, think about it, and then you can digest it, and you'll be in the mode of goodness. All right, you passionate, that brings distress, and it doesn't bring good results. All right, our first topic, look at your 1881. And you can also now open up your study guides. Let's get more, because now we're ready to go into more detail. Remember, we work from general to specific in very, very graded steps. So no one is left behind, and no one is lost, and no one fails. We don't want failure, we don't want competition, we don't want fear. Okay? So you'll see in your study guide, and also in your 1881, you'll see topics. Now this is how we got that 1881. I didn't make it up. I took Bhakti Shastri, and all I did was take the titles, but I put them in a different package. So there's a quick index, right? It's what you call your visual index. 1881 is a visual index. If you turn to page, what page? You'll have to. I don't have my glasses on right now, and I don't particularly want to because they sort of get in the way. Some of you'll have to help me now. What, 48 is it? Chapter 9? In your study? You got it? Is that correct? You'll see where 1881 came from. I didn't make it up. It's Burjan and all the experts, right? They've studied Gita their whole life. So they've decided these are the titles. All right, you see 5 titles now? And you know the size. 3, 7, 8, 7. I'm sorry, 3, 7, 9, 7, 8. All right, now we know. Well, now we want to know what's 3. What's 3? What's the title for 3? Hearing about Krishna, qualifications and disqualifications. So let's pick the essence word, and the essence word is hearing. This starts out just like chapter 7. You're going to see 7 and 9 are almost parallel in many ways. They're very parallel. So your first key word is what? Hearing. Right, and you can use a signal, hearing. And you can put a letter here over your code. We can put an H. So it's like chemistry. We communicate with abbreviations. H3. Hearing, 3 verses. Everybody got it so far? Now we spend a lot of time on this, but you'll be surprised once you know this, the whole thing just sort of like digestion goes down. And you don't forget it so easily. Hearing is about 3 verses. All right, what's your next title?
Krishna's inconceivable relationship with the material world.
All right, so now we're going to pick one word and we're going to say inconceivable. And what's the first letter? I. So we're going to put I over number 7 verses are going to be about Krishna's inconceivable relationship. That means 7 verses are going to be very Ishopanishadic. He does this, but he does that. He does this, but he's that. He does this, but he's that. How can he be both? Only Krishna can be both. And that's why the devotees are so fortunate, because they accept that Krishna is inconceivable. The minute you don't, you wind up in the group of the disbelievers. They can't imagine. He's beyond our comprehension. And they're happy. Devotees are happy with that. I just love you. I don't care if you're all these things. I love you. So, H3, I, 7. 7 verses are going to explain how inconceivable he is. Because he's trying to get us to appreciate him. He spoke this book. Now we want to know more about him. All right, now number 9, we're into our 3rd topic breakdown. What do we have here? Okay, we have 2 kinds of people, non-worshippers and worshippers. So we can put N/W. It's a little hard to see. 9 slokas are going to be, we call this section comparative. Many sections are comparative. Many. Krishna is always comparing. And you see Prabhupada, many purports, comparisons. So here, he's comparing non-worshippers with worshippers. How many verses are going to be on that one? 9. All right. Everybody feeling comfortable with the breakdown now? We haven't, notice how we haven't started reading a sloka? We haven't started like that. But do you feel more comfortable? Because this is contextual. We're finding out where we are and what we're dealing with. This is called task analysis. I analyze a job before I plow into it. Then I'm secure. All right, so has anybody learned anything so far that you didn't know before? Yes, of course. And it's going to make it easier to learn more. That's the point. So the first one is H3, I7, and NW9. Okay, let's find out what the next 7 is all about. Take a look. And this is a skill. I'm not the last word. You can do it. I'm trying to get you to realize when you study, try this on yourself. Try it on yourself before you start plowing into Sloka 1, Sloka 2, Sloka 3, and then they all start to sound the same and I don't remember any of them, because that's what will happen, guaranteed. Okay, what's number 3? 4, I'm sorry.
Comparing demigod worshippers and devotees.
Oh, another comparison section. 2 comparison sections side by side. Okay? So now we're going to compare demigod. We put DD. And DD, this is devotees. DD. Comparing demigod worshippers and devotees. So we had 2. We're comparing non-worshippers with worshippers. And now in the next section, he's going to be comparing in 7 slokas demigod worshippers and devotees. So now you're starting to get a feel for this chapter? Yeah, it won't be such a mystery, will it? In fact, reading it at the end is like rolling off a log. It's about that simple, if you take it step by step. Just try to do college calculus if you didn't do first grade math. It won't happen. That's what sometimes people think they can do, but you can't. You have to progressively go. And you're adults, you can do it on yourself quickly, and you can help others do it too. All right, H3, I7, NW9, DD7. And now what's the gopis? 8. What are the gopis going to be? The glories of worshiping Krishna. Wow, that's very much like the end of the chapter 8, the supremacy of devotional service. You see the patterns of these chapters quite similar. Patterns. Just start to look for patterns. Start to be sharp readers. Okay? Predict. Oh. So now we're going to put a G here for what? Glories. Okay, let's go over this again, because this is our chemistry lesson. It sounds like a formula for something very confidential. Okay. H3, I7, NW9, DD7, and G8. Wow, that's a formula for confidential knowledge. All right, now you're really being tested. Erase it and do it again. Don't look at any chart. Don't look at your books. Just pray to Paramama. And see if this helps you. Okay, you got your little slates. Wow, that was fast, and I think it was A+. Are you happy with yourself, Mohit? Were you surprised you could do this? Joy! Usually we find people, I get people coming to me all the time and saying, oh, my memory's too bad, you showed up, I won't come to your classes, I'll be ashamed. I said, no. Our program is, we try to teach in such a way that it's too hard to fail. It's too hard to fail. You know, okay, I don't even know what I did with my glasses here. To check it out. Easy to remember, impossible to forget. I have to just find out what I do with my glasses. Okay. There they are. Okay. All right, how does everybody do? Now check with your study partner, because that helps. You try that in a group. If you have, at first it gives a sense of bondage. You know, you binding, you personal, and you have a friend. And it also saves time on the teacher. The poor teacher can't walk around and check everybody. But if you're helping each other, then you just find out, did anybody need more help? And just think tonight when you're, doing something sort of tedious, maybe washing the floor or cutting something, you can say, oh, H3, I7, and W9. And somebody will think you're coming up with a new formula or something. A new phone number, huh? Okay. Everybody's fast in this group. Aren't you glad you sat with the group now? I'm telling you, you sit over there, it's no fun. I guarantee. You see, people smile. They actually start smiling. You know why? Because learning is fun. You don't have to sugarcoat it. You don't have to give kids a lollipop on the way out. Learning is fun. And the whole material world is a place for us to learn about Krishna. Especially if you're learning about Krishna, you will smile. Because he's inside and he's happy, and you'll be happy. If Krishna's happy, you'll be happy. You try to study something else, Krishna's not as happy, and you won't be as happy. That's how it works. Okay, now we know the topic breakdowns. Everybody comfortable with that? All right. So now we want to know a little bit more. So the next logical step is to study a little bit more. You've got these books now. They've got summaries in the books. Okay. Now, the thing is, when we read, we're going to read together. We don't make anybody just sit there by himself. And you use your hand, and I will read in such a way that when I stop, it means the next word is important. And we use our little finger, the one that Krishna uses to hold up Govardhan Hill. And we slide along so we're not lost. And you follow in your study guide. Now, I hope you all have it. Did you get a study guide? You didn't have a study guide? He's got a study guide. Okay, everybody sharing a study guide at least, if you don't have your own. Now, this is what we call interactive reading. And it's much more fun than listening to somebody just read. Because what's going to happen, 10%, your mind's going to wander, and it's not your turn. And it's much more fun when you do it too. Right? Everybody likes to participate. The book I have on what are the 9 most important features of effective teaching lists active participation. Very high on the list. Active participation leads to effective teaching. The more it's passive, the more it is static. And the more it's active, the more it's ecstatic. Right? Ecstatic. Okay, so I will read, and when I see an important word, I will stop, and you will all be the chorus. And you read that next word. Okay? Here we go. And that my purpose, and your purpose should be when you read, look for important words. Not all the words are important. Actually, I have a book on speed reading, and they've done statistics. And you'll be surprised. 65% of the words are called syntax. They're the glue that holds the paragraph together. That's a big percentage. Only 35% are content words. So they teach them to start being selective. Okay, just look for the key, look at the content words. Of, it, a, the, on every page, even if it's a PhD dissertation or a kindergarten book. So if you're a smart student, you look for the 35%. Okay? So when we read now, keep that in mind, because that's a smaller percentage than 65. If I get bogged down with 65, then I'm slowing down, and then I might get lost. Chapter 9, the summary. So I'll read along, and you follow now, underline. This is also a skill taught in speed reading. If you underline, your eyes don't waver, and your mind doesn't go off to something else. Okay, I want to see everybody sliding like this, okay? The beginning chapters of Bhagavad Gita describe knowledge of the difference between the soul and the body. Chapters 7 and 8 are more because they describe service, which brings in consciousness. Chapter is most because it describes unalloyed devotional service. Oh, so chapter 9 is most confidential. In the 8th chapter, Krishna has explained that the devotee surpasses both the path of and... Okay. Now Krishna will explain how to such an... Now, does that sound like a good idea? Does anybody here want to become an Ananya devotee? Yes, so we're going to find out the recipe. The first step is about Krishna. Now, was this more fun? Yes, and now you know what's in chapter. He goes back and tells you what 7 and 8, this was the section on bhakti. Okay, and in 7 and 8, we hear information that's confidential. But now in 9, we're going to hear about the Ananya devotee and how to become one, because we all want to do that. All right, now here's our topic sentence, and we know this. Hearing about Krishna, and this 3 slokas will give us qualifications and disqualifications. So we want to be careful because we want the qualifications and we don't want the disqualifications. So now we know H3 has a little more to it. What don't I want to do and what do I want to do? All right? Listen. A person can obtain the most knowledge of the absolute by and can perceive directly through the process of a however must to the of birth and okay. So now we're getting a comparison again. Now the 2 key things, you don't want to be envious and you don't want to be faithless. That's the essence. If you're envious, Krishna is not going to tell you anything, and if you're faithless, it's mrityu samsara. Okay, everybody got it? Mrityu samsara. Let's go to the next read-alongs part. This is called Krishna's, remember, I-7? Inconceivable relationship with what? The material world. Okay, now we can see this is 4 through 10. Now we know the address. We know how big it is, but 4 through 10 will tell us where you live. Where are these now? They're in 9, 4 through 10. All right, now, read along as I stop. Krishna pervades, creates, and the entire through his material. Okay, he does all 3. Although Krishna is the controller, the material world moves, and Krishna thus remains and detached. He's clever. He's running the show, creating, annihilating, but he's neutral and detached. Inconceivable relationship with the material world. That's 4 through 10. Now let's go through non-worshippers and worshippers. How many slokas were there? 9. 9 slokas. This is a big section. 9. This is the biggest one. Non-worshippers and worshippers. 11 through 19. Krishna compares the to the demigod and those who worship the. So he's giving you 3 comparisons here. Another comparison. See, this whole thing is comparison. We compare the faithless and the envious with the devotee in the first section, and then in the second one, we're getting, in a way, the contrast, inconceivable relationship between how he's controlling everything, but he's aloof and detached. But now he's giving you comparisons. This is a type of development of a theme. All right, so now he describes how to upon as the Vishva Rupa. So he's going to explain if that's the level of a person's relationship, how do I meditate on the Vishva Rupa? So we're getting comparisons of impersonalists, demigod worshippers, and those who worship the universal form, And if they do that, how to meditate on the what? Universal form, Vishvarupa. Okay, so that's 11 through 19, 9 slokas there. So now you're getting more information. Now we're going more deeply into our subject. Now we're getting another comparison in the next one. That was how many slokas? 7. DD. Follow along. Demigod worship which Krishna as the supreme is and causes serious, improper, and fall down. Devotees of are personally by who helps them achieve his much better to be a devotee. Krishna accepts his offerings which are given in verse 26. Krishna describes pure devotional service. So now he's telling you the benefits of being a devotee, and he's going to describe the benefit, how to do it. And he's going to show you it's a lot simpler than worshiping the demigods, which is very risky. Now we're going to go to the last one. The glories of directly worshiping Krishna. And what was the key letter there? G8. G8. And this is the last section, 27 through 34. Krishna advises Arjuna to perform Karmarpanam, offering the fruits of all to him, which will result in to work. Krishna explained, and they give you 2 verses specifically there, 27 and 28. Krishna explains his in contrast to his relationship with others. So we're going to have more comparisons now. It's always compare. How he becomes a friend to his and protects him. Accidental. He gives shelter to anyone, regardless of, and assures of attaining the supreme. So this is the glories of devotion. No matter what your birth, no matter who you are, no matter what your level, he protects you, even if there's a fall down, special concession. And if it's no matter what your birth, you have a chance. Krishna is very kind. He concludes. Now notice, this is the last part of anything, the conclusion. He concludes by giving the most of how to in his verse 34 is as repeated in 1866. 934 and 1866. So now you got a sort of a picture of what's happening. Okay, now let us move on. I think we're ready. We're going to now go to the next level. Take out the yellow book that has the slokas very big. The slokas are enlarged. This is how you know your summaries, right? You read after you've done the preliminary. Just say you're studying on your own. Yes, you have a question.
26 is a misprinting.
They could have made a mistake. Yeah, I know. Actually, number 26 is the last of that section, and then 27 starts the final section. They may, I know. Sometimes there are other sections where they have a number mistake. But 26 is the last of the comparing devotees. Okay? So now we put aside our study guide for a little bit, and we take out our enlarged slokas. Are you okay? You needed a stretch. Oh, go ahead. Okay. In this stage, take out one more handout I gave you, and that shows 9.1, 9.2. And again, I pulled out key, remember those 35% words? You see you have another handout. It's charts. It's a chart. Yeah, it's tables. Yes, there, that's it. It just has words on it. Right, and you'll see 9.1, 9.2. So you're going to keep these two side by side because this helps you pull out the key words. Remember, reading means I don't try to digest the whole thing. I'm smart. I take the most important thing at this stage. Now, if you're a Shrutidar, you can read it once and never forget it, but this is not so common in Kali Yuga. So the most important thing is extract, extract, extract. Extract the keywords, right? Yeah. I mean, I tried to start this for all of last year I got sort of bogged down. I even was adding the Sanskrit in another chart. But this helps you do the second step of study. You're going to see all these words, and your eye will move across the page, but unless you're trained at spotting, you won't be able to catch it all. Agree? You can't. All right. So now let's do the summary together. I'll read the summary, and remember, use your hand. And when I stop, you say the important word. Now, a summary is a very important thing. It has extracted the essence points into a small statement or statements. Lord Krishna is the and the supreme of. Okay, so that's what we call our general statement. Krishna is the supreme Godhead and the supreme object of worship. How many points are in there? Two. Don't just keep going. Figure out how many points are here. Two. The soul is eternally related to through transcendental devotional, which is, okay, so that's the second essential point here. The soul is eternally related through bhakti. So you have 2 points here. The soul, 3. Eternally related, and how? Bhakti. So in the first sentence we had 2 points. What were they? He's the supreme Godhead and he's the supreme object of worship. In the next sentence we have 3 points. The soul is what? Eternally related to him through devotional service. Soul, eternally related through bhakti. 3 points in that sentence. Now the last sentence, remember these are summary sentences, so if you get the essence of this, you've really distilled it, like ghee. It's ghee. It's not just a big pile of butter. It's the ghee. By reviving one's 1, 2, in the spiritual. All right, now this is very important because this is the objective. This is the prayojana. Notice the first one is the sambandha. The second one is the process, abhideya. And what's your prayojana? What's your goal? Go back to the spiritual world. You see, even in one paragraph, you get those 3 levels. You get knowledge of who Krishna is. You get knowledge of the soul and his process, which is bhakti. And in the last one, what you get is the goal. What's the goal? The spiritual realm. So by reviving one's pure devotion, one returns to Krishna in the spiritual realm. Now what we're going to do right now, this is a little tricky, but I want you to turn to your study partner and just in a very relaxed way, your own words, tell them what is the essence of this chapter. Okay? Because now we've hit on 3 points, right? Who Krishna is, these 2 things, what? Supreme Godhead and the supreme object. And now who's the soul? He's eternally related, and what else? Through bhakti, he's connected eternally, right? And what's the final thing? Right, by reviving your pure devotion, you do what? You go back. So just in a relaxed conversation, say to your neighbor, just paraphrase. Don't try to memorize. Just paraphrase this important thing. Now everybody is able to summarize these essential sambandha, abhideya, and parojana. Because basically that's all that's ever going on. That's all that's ever going on. Okay, are we ready now? We're going to move a little on some more. Now, are you starting to feel you're getting a grip on chapter 9? Right. You know, it's 34 slokas, 5 topics. The numbers are, the first one is H3, I7, and NW9, DD7, and G8. Right? And now you've got a summary now for the whole book, the chapter. You'll see these in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. They'll have these tiny little summaries. They'll say, most confidential knowledge, there'll be a little summary there. So now you have put it here. It's here. And it's here. It's not only here, it should be in your heart. Right, okay. Now, that's another way to analyze a book. Study the table of contents before you plow into it. Now, mine's color version. Now take out the back of your mind maps. These are little sub-mind maps. They even have here the questions in the study guide. And on the back, what I did was I made a chart, and in black, heavy black, I picked one word. It's really good to boil things down. Now yours you don't have the advantage of the color. And we used to give our students, when we were in the hallway downstairs, markers. But with these sofas, I don't want to bring hot pink and blue markers up. Because all we have to do is have to reupholster and we'll be out of here. So we don't have that aspect. But we would give the students colored markers and they could do this. But you can do it because I follow the rainbow. Pink, orange, green, blue, purple. It's very systematic. The color spectrum is pink, orange, green, blue, purple, and I use yellow to enhance it. You see on our website, we have our charts like that. It's nothing I do is arbitrary. I'll put some kind of a system behind it so people can follow. Okay? So now let's look at our key words. In the first 3 slokas, which are going to tell us we don't want to be envious and we don't want to be faithless, let's look at what the key words are. And guess what? I put in a lot of other words. It's almost your sloka is there. I dropped out things. What's our first word? Envious. Well, what's our next word? Oh, you see double stars. That means this is a memory verse. King. King. And I put a little code also. Did you see the little cartoon? So this little guy, if he's Anasuya, he's non-envious. Krishna will tell him. And then if this is what kind of knowledge? King of knowledge. And what do you want to be? Right, you don't want to be envious, but you do want to be faithful. Because if you're faithless, you have to come back to birth and death. Okay, so your 3 words are envious, king, and faithful. Turn to your neighbor and tell them 3 words. Okay, got it? All right. Okay? You're doing okay. He's smiling. You happy? Yeah. Yeah, right. Now, the orange section is how many slokas? That was I7, right? So 7 sections. And then sometimes I even subdivide. I have little brackets here. And with each subsection, I'll put a little code. All right, now this section is Krishna's inconceivable relationship with the what? Material world. Right. So we're going to get, in this section, a comparison. We're going to get an analogy. Oh, that's another way to develop a topic. We're going to get an analogy of the wind. Right? And I also look for not onomatopoeia, but alliteration. The first letter, if it's the same. That's a good way to help you remember things. So I see the letter M 2 times. Do you see it? Yes. Mystic and what? I see N 2 times. Neutral and nature. Look for tricks. These are actually mnemonic tricks. The Greeks and the Romans did it too. This is not the first time. Mnemonic is a Greek word for pneuma, memory. And we see wind. That's your analogy. And pervaded, everybody knows about Krishna is everywhere. You know the meaning of these words, pervaded? And we know now we've got pervaded, mystic, millennium, and we've got the analogy of wind, neutral, and nature. He's neutral, but he's still in charge of the material nature. And we've got one more word which fits the material world, which is what? Cosmic. So now we've hit 7 words in a pretty easy way. Okay? We've got an analogy. What's that? Wind. What are the 2 M's? Millennium and mystic. What are the 2 N's? Neutral and nature. And what's Krishna? He pervades. And what's this whole universe? Cosmic. Wow, you guys are sharp. See if you can tell 7 words to your neighbor. That's all right. Everybody doing okay? Yeah. Okay, these are your key words. We call these stepping stone words. Stepping stones, because it's like a bead on a mala. I know envious, I know king, I know faithful, I know pervades. My next one is mystic, and I know wind, and I know millennium and cosmic and neutral and nature. Let's go to the green section. We're going to break it in the middle of the page. This is about non-worshippers and worshippers. In this section, we're going to hear about 2 kinds of people, and then Chris is going to really let us know what he is, the bottom. And they're pretty easy, too. I tried to pick easy link words. All right, 9/11. Remember, that was the day the Twin Towers went down. September 9/11. Fools. And what are fools? They are bewildered. Fools are bewildered. And why are people atheistic? Because he says here, those who are bewildered are attracted to demonic and atheistic views. They can't help it. Why are there so many atheists out there? Because they're bewildered. Sometimes people argue and argue and argue. Oh, why are those guys always arguing about? They're saying there's no God. Because that's what happens when you think there's no God. You'll have to be an atheist. You have no choice. So fools are bewildered, but the devotees, 13 and 14, they are protected perpetually. PP. So you have alliteration, PP. So you got bewildered fools, and you have protected perpetually devotees. And then you have another 9:15, those who don't fall into that category. They're worshippers of a sort, but not the right thing. Those who either worship the one and many, the diverse, or the universal form. They cultivate different kinds. So fools are bewildered, devotees are protected perpetually, and others cultivate something else. Okay, try to tell your neighbor those 5 things. Are you having a good time? It's easy, huh? You just study this way, and in 1 hour, you can pretty much get a chapter. I'm guaranteeing. You can pretty much get a chapter. Usually these chapters take about, 5 topics, 5 classes, 2 hours each. But the problem is they often just go verse by verse. Usually people don't remember too much. That's the problem. But right now you have a framework for building very high. A big skyscraper has to go high. They have to make sure that it's a solid structure. It'll, like 9/11, go over. Okay, everybody got 5 words there? Now Krishna, this is an easy one here. He's going to tell you all about himself. Many of these are things that you're going to hear repeated in chapter 10. Opulence of the Absolute. He's giving you a preview. So this is easy. Rituals, he talks about of the ritual, he's everything. The sacrifice, the offering, the ancestors, the herbs, the chant, the butter, the fire, all that. Ritual. Now he's going to tell you he's the what? Father. And he's not only the father, the mother, the grandfather, the friend, purifier, the Vedas, the Shastras. He's everything. So ritual, father, and then he's also the what? Goal, the prayojana. I'm the prayojana, I'm the goal. The sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, the friend, the creation, annihilation, basis, resting, eternal seed, everything. You should be convinced by now. He hasn't left too much out. Ritual, he's everything. The sacrifice, the offering, the ancestors. You see the key words there? And then father, the universe, mother, support, grandfather, object of knowledge, purifier. You see all the little words? He's listing that in the sloka, but I picked one word. Because you just have to remember ritual, RR. Ritual, rain. Father, goal. Ritual and rain. Father, goal. 4 words. Okay, and the rain, he says, I withhold the rain. I send it. The heat. I'm death. I'm also immortality. I'm spirit, matter, everything. He's covering everything. It's what you call his advertisement. I'm advertising. Come, come. It's his resume. Okay, so what are your words? Ritual, father, goal, and rain. Okay, this whole section is fools, bewildered, protection, cultivation, ritual, father, goal, and rain. Now you got a lot of words there. 9. Doing well. Now we're going to go to the blue section. That's 7. More comparisons now. Comparing demigod worshippers with who? Devotees. Because now he really wants to convince people who worship demigod worshippers that's not a very good idea. And he's going to tell you why. So we have 4 breakdowns here. You see the little brackets? 4 breakdowns here. Now, if you think about it, remember, think first before you try to memorize. It's a lot easier. They're in the heavenly planets, they do what? They drink somaras. But after they've taken up too much of it, they're exhausted. They've exhausted their somaras credits. They've used up all their, on your phone, when you've used up all your, right, you got to recharge it. So they have to come back and recharge their credits to go back and drink more somaras. Okay, so, and then the last one, yeah, but then he ends by saying, yeah, but with devotees, if they worship me with exclusive devotion, I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. You don't have to keep recharging. Krishna gives you a good deal, good offer. Soma, exhausted, and here's 2 E's. That's called alliteration. You have exhausted and exclusive. Soma, exhausted, and exclusive. Use these little tricks. And guess what? Study will become fun. Are you all having fun doing this? Yes, because it's a creative entertainment. Entertain your mind. You don't have to just make it, beat it. It doesn't have to be entertained. The mind is happy to be entertained. You just have to have little tricks to keep it happy. Okay, now the next 2. Wrong. Uh-oh. We don't want to do that. The wrong. Right, this is the wrong way to worship. And then those people, notice, did you check all of these have a star? Look at this. Star, star, star. The last one, 2 stars. In this section, all first 4 have stars. Last one, double star. This chapter is important. Single star means key thematic verse. Double star means you have to memorize this for Bhakti Shastri. So now, wrong and recognize. It all starts with the sound Even though the spelling's different, it's wrong and recognize. They don't recognize Krishna's pure devotion. Now, the last 2 will tell us how we should worship him with love. Worship and love. Okay, so let's try. Soma, exhausted and exclusive. Wrong and recognize. Worship with love. That's 7 words. Now try them on your neighbor. Soma.
Then you have wrong, then you worship.
Okay, you get a good picture of the 9th chapter. When you read it now, it'll just be quite simple. It'll be quite simple. Keep these charts out. Open up the book. It'll make sense, right? And entertain your mind. Think of little tricks to learn and remember more. Make learning a joy. Because in the King of Knowledge it says this process is everlasting and joyfully performed. Right, we're going to study that next. Okay. Are we ready for the final section? The glories of bhakti in how many slokas? 8. Wow, very good. The first one was hearing, the first one was H3, I7, and NW9, DD7, and G8. Wow, very good. You got the code now. This is the secret confidential code. Now, I did 4 breakdowns here, and check it out. Of these 8 slokas, 2 are memory verses. 927 and 934. 929 is a thematic one. Out of 8 verses, 3 are really important. 927, 934, and 9:29. Plus 9:30 is quoted all the time. They quote 9:30 because it happens. People have fall downs.
Yeah.
Why do they quote it so much? Because it's Kali Yuga, and people, even when they're trying, they have fall down. You'll hear 9:30. So 9:30 tells you don't make fun of somebody that had a fall down. Krishna doesn't like that. So we got a lot of verses that are quoted a lot. And also that he says, my devotee never perishes. He makes a promise in 31. Okay, so let's get the key words. Whatever. Now we have two A's. Abominable and absorbed. Right. We want to be absorbed. Okay, that's the last one, is your key. Absorbed. Always think of me. Become my devotee. Worship me. He's telling you how to do it. This, become absorbed in me. Surely you will come to me. This is repeated in the 18th chapter, verse 66. This is the key word of the center portion of the Bhagavad Gita. Right in the middle. The crest verse. 934. Right in the center of the 18th chapters of the entire 100,000 chapters in the Mahabharata. I think the Mahabharata's 100,000 verses. Big. So we have whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever. And what's the result of that? Here's the bargain. You will be what? Freed from bondage. So if you want to be freed from birth and death, whatever you do, offer it to Krishna. Now this is not pure bhakti. This is karma mishra. The one in 926 is pure bhakti. The secret here is do it with love. You don't even have to offer a lot. Just a leaf, flower, fruit, water. But even if you don't do, whatever you do, offer it to Krishna. Whatever you do. And you will be freed from bondage. So whatever and freed, those two are together. Now, he's going to show you how, number 29, he's equal. But if you're devotee, he's a special friend. So equal, and then we've got, even if you do something bad, if you're a devotee, he should not be derided. Now that doesn't mean he should be a devotee, I can do anything. No, it means accidental. Equal, and even if a devotee does a fall down, he quickly becomes righteous because he says, I guarantee my devotee never perishes. Equal, abominable, perishes. Now the next two. This is showing you how generally kind he is. Even lower birth, women, Vaishyas, Shudras, anyone can attain to the destination. What to speak of the devotees, the Brahmanas, and the Kshatriyas, the higher orders. So verse 32 is the lower birth, but it doesn't matter. And he speaks of the higher birth, the devotees, the Brahmanas, the kings, right? What to think of them? So you get the lower option and the higher one, devotees, kings, the righteous Brahmanas. And the last verse, all by itself, the crest verse, absorbed. Be absorbed in Krishna. Okay. Now for the sake of Anuradha, we're going to open our books to 9.2. Because she has to grade essays, and I promised her if she came, I would show the group this. So now take out your little baby Bhagavad Gitas. Okay, your tiny miniature Gitas. And turn to chapter 2. What's the key word for chapter 2? King. Do you remember? King. Right, king. 9.2. Chapter 9.2. What was the word on your chart?
King.
King. Right. Now, what you do, this is our going into the Kund. This is going deep. Remember we did overview? We've been doing breakdowns. We've been doing summaries. we've been doing extracting. We extracted 34 words. And many of you, I think, could do pretty good. If I said, could you extract 34 words? You could probably do pretty good. Oh, envious, king, faithful, and then the next section, pervades, right, and mystic, and wind, right, and nature and neutral, right, cosmic. So many fools, bewildered, protection perpetually, cultivation, right, ritual, father, goal, reign, soma, exhausted, exclusive. Look at this group, they're just, right, worshiping with love, right, whatever you do, right. It's overwhelming. I got such a smart group here. Okay, do you all have your little baby Bhagavad Gitas? And now we're going to go into get your gumshoes on. You're going to go into the water now. Okay. Now another little trick is, you can do it mentally, you can do it on a piece of paper, you can do it on your iPads. Right. Another little study trick. And it's fun. Just reading and reading and reading. Come on, unless you're just a natural reader and you just soak it up. But I tell you, after this, you're going to have fun reading. Aren't you? Because now you've learned some preliminary tips. So what you can do on your iPad, is when you're reading, remember we were listening for points before. We want to know in this sloka, because it's going to really tell us how to analyze a purport. Because Prabhupada, this is my favorite sloka when we're teaching how to write. Because I feel Prabhupada got A+++++ on this purport. And we're going to see the secret to writing, we'll give you a little tip, is that if you have a lot of paragraphs to write, you have a general statement at the beginning, okay? And at the end of the whole thing, you have a final opinion. Right. Now you'll get this even in smaller purports. You'll get a general statement, and at the end you'll get a thesis statement, and thesis means I say everything in one sentence. Like the way we saw these summaries, right? They're like a summary sentence, but at the end. So at the beginning is a general statement, and then at the end, there has to be a final opinion and a call for action. You're being told to do something. Did you see in the end of chapter 9, what does Krishna say? Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me. He's telling you what to do. He's giving you all his arguments. He starts off by telling you, now I'm going to tell you something because you're my friend. You're not envious. This knowledge will, it's both gyan and vigyan, confidential. And on top of that, it will relieve you from misery. So he's giving you an advertisement in the first statement, first sloka. And by the end, he's tried to convince you. Comparisons all the way. Plus how inconceivable he is, how he's the ritual, the father, the rain, the goal. By now you should be convinced when he tells you, do this. Oh yeah, of course, why shouldn't I? I should worship you, think of you, bow down before you. This is how he developed. The way we develop is exemplified by Krishna's slokas, by Prabhupada's purports. It all originates with Krishna. So when we study writing, we learn this. You start with a general statement. You make a point. You have to develop it. Convince the person of my point is true. And at the end, I'm not just trying to waste your time. I'm going to recommend you do it. It's called information Transformation. Information? Transformation. I've heard something. I'm different. I want to take a course of action. I don't want to just sit there like a potato. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take this process up. So you see the process, general statement, final opinion, and usually a call for action. Okay? And there'll be a thesis statement in there. Okay. Now, let's just say we have to write a paper on this sloka. And we'll see how Prabhupada did it. But before we do, we want to check the sloka out. Let's see how many points are in this sloka. Now, in some things we noticed 1, 2, 3, or 4. Let's put a dot on our chart for every point. The first thing. Okay. So the first statement says, this knowledge is the king. King. That's our first word. Now, it's not the king of a country, but it's the king of knowledge. So that's our first point. Next, he says, it's the most secret. Another dot. Now, what you do when you're reading a sloka, you could give it dots or stars. It may be a 5-star sloka. It may be a 1-star sloka. It may be a 2-star sloka. For every point, make a dot or a star. That way you can see, wow, this sloka is really important. So I think I'll do that. I think I'll make stars. We have 2 stars so far. It's king and secret. All right, next. It is purest. Oh, now he's really advertising. Have you ever had a 5-star hotel ad? You know, that they have there by the Riviera, and they offer meals in your room, and, you know, perfect service. Bedding is changed 5 times a day. Okay, 3-star sloka so far. Let's see how many more stars this sloka has. It gives direct perception. Okay, direct perception. Another star in this sloka. This sloka is packed. This is a good one to write a paper on. And we want to see what Prabhupada does with this paper. Because he's a Shaktavish avatar. And he said Krishna told him what to write, so we better be sure that he's going to be writing it well. He knows what he's doing. Plus, Prabhupada was very educated. He was vastly learned. All right, and it gives direct perception of the self by realization. Yes, not guessing. Perceptual realization. So far, how many stars on this sloka?
5.
Phew, so 5-star sloka. Now we're going to see it even beats those hotels. And it's the perfection of religion. And what else? Oh my goodness! Everlasting, and what else? Now, what I suggest you do when you're studying slokas is give them star ratings. I know on internet, they'll tell you if you're checking out movies. I don't do this really, but I happen to notice. They'll say, is this a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5-star movie? So you can choose your slokas. Not that any sloka is not important, but you can figure out how many stars are on this sloka. And stars are fun. 8. King. Secret. Purest. Perception. Realization. Perfection of religion. Everlasting. Joyfully performed. Whoa, this is a big sloka. Now, I'm going to tell you a secret. Are you ready? When a writer writes, when Prabhupada writes, he takes these words. Each of these words he turns into a topic sentence for a different paragraph. Each word. Now, the first paragraph has to be the general statement. Remember that? So that's the general statement for all of them. But after that, he takes all of these points, and we're going to see how he does it. I guarantee you'll be surprised how perfect. And he goes through that. Some of them he makes more than one paragraph. Now, when you develop a paragraph, you have to do three things. You have to have a topic statement at the end, usually not a final opinion. For each paragraph, you'll have a topic sentence, and you'll have an intermediate opinion. Did you notice in the Gita, Krishna throughout the book is saying, this is my opinion, this is my opinion. He'll have many intermediate opinions until the last chapter he gives you the final opinion. Surrender unto me. But along the way, he's giving you opinions, right? Just to make sure you're on board. Are you with me? Because it's a long trip from chapter 2 to 18. So now, this is a big purport. So along the way, we're going to be checking. Topic sentence. Is Prabhupada giving some kind of an opinion, or even a summary statement at the end, a conclusion at the end of that section? That's a signal, I'm done with this section. In the middle, there are 3 ways to convince you. How many?
3 ways.
The first is by making reference to Scripture. Shabda Brahman. Shabda Brahman. Scriptural authority. If I say something, I have to back it up. So that is one way Prabhupada is going to try to convince you, by scriptural authority. Even if you're writing a paper for some university on some material subject, you have to give references. Where did you get this? At the end of a book. You have to give your references. You write footnotes on the bottom of the page. I researched in this dictionary the meaning of this term. I looked up in this book the history of India before 2000 something. You have to give references, even materially. Spiritually, more important. You can't just say, I think. You have to say, I know, because it's coming from the parampara. And it's authoritative. It's perfect. It's the ultimate. But there's another kind of development. And that is something people can perceive. It's called pratyaksha. I can perceive this with my own senses, imperfect though they may be. And often you see analogies here. If I don't understand something abstract, I say something concrete. Right? Like the mind is steady, like a lamp in a windless place. Can you see a lamp? There's no wind. Does the lamp move? No. The mind that's fixed on Krishna doesn't waver. So it's something somebody can understand, pratyaksha. With their senses, they can see. Analogies are often used. That's why Prabhupada uses 250 analogies in the Gita. 250. Between the slokas and the purports, over 250 analogies. Because it's very elevated, abstract, philosophical information that needs clarity. The third way to develop your topic is by hypothesis. This is by the mind. Logic, inference. I can't prove it, but if one's just thinking, a dead body is different from a living body. If I'm thinking, pretty obvious, right? So what are your 3 ways? Scriptural, reference, direct perception, and logic. Right. Shabda Praman, Pratyaksha, Anuman. Okay. Now we are ready. I guarantee you're going to find this.
Mataji, is going to be the same order?
No. You can one of 3. 1, 2, or all 3. But when you're developing a philosophical point, those are your 3 options. Okay? You have to write something. You have to have examples. So you refer to scripture, you give direct evidence, and hypothesis. Okay? Hypothesis. All right. All right, now, let us read together the first sentence of this purport. Put your little finger. We're going over time, but this is so important. Now notice how Prabhupada keeps referring to the sloka. This chapter of Bhagavad Gita is called the education because it is the essence of all and philosophies before. This is his general statement. And he's using the word from the sloka, king. Now let us turn. Now every time you get a new paragraph, there's an indentation. On the next page, generally people are not educated in this knowledge. They are educated in external knowledge. So what's the word here? Secret. Did you see how he took that word? And it's become it's the topic sentence. It becomes so obvious. It's the topic sentence for the next point. The Bhagavad Gita, now we're going to the next one. Now sometimes you'll find he'll go more than one paragraph. He goes into this even more. The Bhagavad Gita, especially from the second chapter on, stresses the importance of the soul. Now here, he's developing the idea that this confidential part of knowledge, and now he's developed the importance of the soul being eternal, because he wants you to understand this is the beginning of knowledge. Let us drop down to the next paragraph. This knowledge is the... What was your third word? Pretty surprising how he does. Is it so obvious? Is it going to be easy to read these purports now? Otherwise you say, oh God, that's a long purport. Maybe I'll skip over it. They're going to cover it in class anyway. That's what Anuradha tells me. They don't bother to read because they know the lecture is going to cover the class. It's true.
What she's saying is exactly true. They look at this and they think, oh my God, that's a long report. That's going to take me, at least a half an hour. I don't have the time. I need to go. Anyway, the teacher will talk about it tomorrow.
Exactly. Now see, I asked her to come because I wanted to show her how we do it and also wanted her to testify. She's a teacher. She knows. I'm a teacher. I know. I'm not up here because I don't know. I mean, I've been through it with these kids. You got to give them the key, or they're not going to do it. Did you see that? Okay, now let us go to the next paragraph. This one actually starts to go into a narrative. This one starts to go into a narrative. And it's basically talking about sinful activities, being freed from the duality, engaged in devotional service. They're freed from reaction. All right, let us go down to our next one. It is said that the execution of devotional service is so... Okay, what was the word that we had in the sloka? Perfection of religion. And along the way, by the way, whenever you get a quote from Shastra, you'll know it because it will be italicized and they'll give it to you and it's indented again. They quoted Padma Purana in the previous one. Did you see that? Prabhupada quotes. Whenever there's a quote from Shastra, it'll stand out. The book will be italicized and the sloka will. So here we get a sloka from the Padma Purana. Let's go to the next paragraph. In the Vedanta Sutra, now he's starting out with a reference. It is described in the following words, Prakashascha karmani abhyasat, and let's say, devotional service is so potent that simply by engaging in the activities of devotional service, one becomes Enlightened without a doubt. Now what was that? Realization. He's quoting Shastra and he's referring to the sloka. Is Prabhupada doing a good job so far? Would you give him an A on this paper? Okay. Now here he's talking about Narada. Now sometimes he'll go into a narration, a story, to make it interesting. How Narada was just enlightened by doing a little devotional service. He took some prasad. And suddenly the Lord appears in his heart, you know. And Narada, and he quotes again. Bhagavatam 1525. Okay? And then again, Narada says further. Okay. Now, let's go to the next paragraph on the next page. The word dharmya means what? Path of religion. Path of religion. Okay. So this one, highest goal of religion is devotional service. Okay. And again, he's continuing his narration. Many quotes here from the Bhagavatam. Now, let's go to the next one. The process of devotional service is a very happy one. Susukam. Joyfully performed. Joyfully performed. And he elaborates on that. And he's going to tell you why. Let's go to the next page. It is said here that devotional service is Is this following a pattern?
Yes.
Anybody catching it?
Yes.
Does it suddenly become easy to read? The first thing you do when you have a lot to read is read the first sentence. Read the first sentence. 95% of the time in writing, the writer states the topic in the first sentence. 5% of the time, it may be elsewhere or implied. Sometimes it's not stated. It's more hidden. And they do that for effect. 95% of the time, the first sentence will tell you essentially what you need to know. Let's go to the next one. As will be seen in Bhagavad Gita, actual devotional service begins after liberation. Now this is very important. I want us now to go to the last, because we're going to end, because we're way over time, but I think you all will find this valuable. When one's heart is cleared of all nonsense, then one can understand what God is. Thus. Now whenever you see thus, or in conclusion, or right, you know that it's a signal. These are called signal words. I'm going to give you the whole thing in one statement. Are you ready? Thus. Are you ready? Remember your points. The process of devotional service of Krishna consciousness is the king of all education and the king of all confidential knowledge. It is the form of religion. It can be executed without difficulty. Therefore, one should adopt it. Haribol. Now, is it going to be easy to read a purport? It's very easy to read a purport. Hare Krishna. I hope you've all enjoyed your little class today. Okay, so now we have one last thing to do. You must put the materials nicely in your little tray. The airplane is about to land. The pilot is over time. We're running late at the airport. They're clearing the runway so we don't collide with any other planes scheduled to come in. Our steward, our little steward, will bring you the fruit platter. She has to parachute. Yeah. Did you get your fruit platter? Yeah, you gotta get your food platter.
Thank you so much, Mom.
Yeah. We hired him at an early age because he's so good. He's very good. He passed all the tests even though he's 3 years old. He's very good. And you'll find he's a very, very good, yeah, right. Please neatly put everything back in your trays. Don't accidentally put something in your bag. People like to do that in hotels and airplanes. Oh, this looks like another guest towel. I'll take it home. Oh, I like that headphone set. Maybe I can use it on my computer. Please, we have to share these materials with the next flight.